Motivation is not your problem. That's the first lie you have to let go of. You keep telling yourself that if you just felt more inspired, more driven, more energized, everything would change. You imagine waking up one morning with this surge of clarity and suddenly becoming disciplined, focused, unstoppable. But that surge never lasts. It comes in waves and then it disappears. And when it disappears, you blame yourself. You call yourself inconsistent, weak-willed, lazy, maybe even broken in some subtle way other people aren't. But what if motivation was never designed to carry your life? What if the reason it keeps failing you isn't because you lack it, but because you were never meant to depend on it in the first place? Look at your pattern. You feel frustrated with yourself. You watch something powerful. You read something inspiring. You promise, this time will be different. You make a plan. You feel ready. For a few days, maybe a week, you move with intensity. Then something shifts. You wake up slightly tired, slightly distracted, slightly less certain, and the fire is gone. Not completely, just enough that everything feels heavier. So you postpone, you delay, you scroll. You tell yourself you'll restart tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And slowly a story builds in your mind. I just can't stay motivated. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Motivation was never supposed to be stable. It's an emotion, and emotions fluctuate. You don't blame the weather for changing, yet you expect your internal climate to stay permanently sunny. That expectation, that's the real trap. Modern culture worships motivation. It sells it as the engine of success, the fuel of discipline, the secret behind high performers. But the ancient world understood something very different. They did not rely on emotion to produce action. They relied on structure, on identity, on responsibility, on something far more stable than a passing feeling. And we forgot that. You feel stuck not because you lack desire. You do desire change deeply. You feel stuck because you built your system on a feeling that was never meant to be permanent. Motivation is a spark, not a foundation. A spark can ignite something, but it cannot hold up a structure. Imagine trying to heat your home by lighting a match every morning and hoping it lasts all day. That's how most people live. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel certain. They wait to feel inspired. And when the feeling fades, their action fades with it. Then guilt appears, and guilt drains even more energy. Now you're not only unmotivated, you're ashamed. This cycle repeats so often that you start identifying with it. I'm just not disciplined. But discipline is not emotional intensity. It's alignment between identity and action. And identity is not built in bursts. It's built in repetition. There's an ancient image that captures this perfectly. Think of Sisyphus, condemned to push a stone up a mountain every day, only for it to roll back down. Most people see punishment. Look deeper. The power of that image isn't in the stone. It's in the repetition. Up the mountain, every day. Not because he feels inspired, not because he feels motivated, but because the act itself defines him. Modern life trains you to chase peaks. You want the intense gym session, the massive breakthrough, the radical life overhaul. But strength isn't built on peaks. It's built on returns. Returning to the task when you don't feel like it. Returning to the gym when the excitement is gone. Returning to your craft when nobody is watching. Returning to responsibility when avoidance feels easier. Motivation wants novelty. Identity wants consistency. And identity always wins in the long term. Right now, you're trying to feel your way into a new life. But the ancient principle is the opposite. You act your way into a new identity. And identity produces stability. Let's make this practical. You say you want to work out consistently. On Monday, you feel driven. You train hard. On Thursday, you feel flat. You skip. Why? Because the decision was based on emotion. Now imagine this instead. You stop asking how you feel. You ask a different question. What does someone who takes care of their body do today? See, that shift is small, but it's structural. Now the action doesn't depend on mood. It depends on identity. And identity does not fluctuate like emotion. This is why motivation keeps failing you. You built your behavior on a wave. You need something solid. In ancient societies, responsibility created that solidity. A warrior didn't wake up and ask if you felt like training. A craftsman didn't wait for inspiration to carve stone. A parent doesn't rely on motivation to care for a child. Responsibility overrides mood, and responsibility builds identity. You're avoiding responsibility in subtle ways, not dramatic ones. You go to work, you handle basic tasks, but you avoid the heavier responsibility of self-authorship, of defining who you are through repeated action, because that feels demanding. It feels restrictive. It feels less exciting than chasing inspiration. But inspiration is unstable. Responsibility is grounding. You feel unstable because you're chasing highs instead of building weight. And here's something deeper. You think motivation produces action. In reality, action produces motivation. Small action, repeated. When you move your body, energy increases. When you complete a task, clarity increases. When you keep a promise to yourself, confidence increases. Motivation follows evidence, and evidence comes from behavior, not from thinking, not from planning, not from imagining your future self, from doing. That's why the spark fades so quickly. You expect it to carry you before you've built structure beneath it. You're asking emotion to compensate for lack of ritual. That never works. Ritual is the missing piece, not dramatic rituals. Simple, daily, non-negotiable acts. Wake up at the same time. Move your body. Work in focused blocks. Limit distraction. End the day intentionally. These aren't exciting. They're stabilizing. And stability is what you actually crave. You say you want to feel motivated, but what you really want is to feel reliable. To trust yourself. To know that when you say you'll do something, you will. That trust isn't built through emotion. It's built through repetition, under neutral conditions. The days when you feel nothing special. The days when you feel slightly tired. The days when nobody is praising you. Those days matter more than the high-energy ones, because those are the days that build identity. You're not inconsistent because you're flawed. You're inconsistent because you rely on a fluctuating variable. Shift the variable. Stop asking, do I feel like it? Start asking, is this who I am becoming? That question has weight. That question introduces responsibility. And responsibility, unlike motivation, does not depend on mood. There's another uncomfortable truth. You're addicted to the feeling of starting, the clean slate, the dramatic decision, the intense first step. Starting feels powerful. Continuing feels ordinary. But ordinary is where transformation hides. Modern life overstimulates you with novelty. So consistency feels boring, and boredom feels like failure. It isn't. Boredom is the space where identity consolidates. When you can act without excitement. When you can continue without applause. When you can endure without drama. That's when you become stable. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer negotiations. Every time you negotiate with yourself, maybe later, maybe tomorrow, maybe when I feel better, you weaken internal authority. Every time you follow through despite neutrality, you strengthen it. Weakness is not lack of energy. It's lack of internal authority. And authority is built through repeated, calm follow-through, not intensity, not hype. Calm follow-through. Think about the strongest people you know. Not the loudest, the strongest. They're steady, predictable, grounded. They don't depend on bursts. They operate on standards. Standards remove the emotional debate. And when debate disappears, energy is preserved. Right now, too much of your energy is spent deciding. Should I? Shouldn't I? That internal friction drains you more than the task itself. Set the standard once, then act. This isn't about becoming rigid or joyless. It's about becoming self-directed. When you no longer wait for a feeling to authorize your behavior, you become stable. And stability feels like strength. If motivation keeps failing you, it's not because you're incapable. It's because you've been taught to chase a spark instead of building a structure. And structure feels less glamorous, but it works. Start small. Choose one standard, one non-negotiable daily act. Keep it simple. Keep it quiet. Do it whether you feel inspired or not, especially when you don't. Watch what happens after 2 weeks. Your confidence won't come from excitement. It will come from evidence. And evidence is undeniable. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not missing some secret drive other people have. You're simply over-relying on a feeling that was never meant to carry your life. Motivation is a spark. Identity is a foundation, and foundations are built brick by brick. If this resonated with you, subscribe to The Ancient Mind. This channel exists to explore the deeper principles beneath modern struggle, calmly, clearly, without hype. Because you don't need more excitement, you need clarity. And once you have that, the rest becomes steady, deliberate action.